You are becoming a beacon of light. That's what we're hearing for this one. If you were not a beacon of light already, right? What we're hearing is that you are becoming a beacon of light. The frequencies of the planet, they are rising. And they continue to rise. And this is the nature of this whole experience. Because it's about growth. All of the growth that you see depicted in the economic world, in the building stuff and all of that stuff, they are they are an outpictured representation of the inward transformation that is occurring with all of us. Confirmation gecko from Gaia. These are the times that we came here for. This is the time. And it doesn't mean do more. It's quite the opposite in a way, but not necessarily. It's not about doing less either. It's about slowing down and not chasing the old system and the old, sort of like the mirrored, out-pictured representation of what this inward transformation is. And there are a lot of beings that wants to have an opinion about it. Do this, do that. But it's an internal transformation that you are all undergoing right now. If this video is finding you, you are undergoing this transformation at some level. And there are different stages of this transformation. This transformation happens in stages. There are certain portals. We just went through a really big one. And that is shifting your frequency. If you've done enough of the we don't want to say the right things, but there is a sort of like a code that your body, when you do certain things, you are doing the right thing by Gaia. And what is Gaia? Gaia is your body, my dear. Gaia is your feelings. But there are many beings that are convinced that they are operating in alignment because their mental space is in order. We had a mental space that was in order. Kenneth, this body, had a mental space that was in order. But we were highly, highly locked into the dualistic perspective. The ego can be very convincing. And a lot of beings that are in that egoic construct they might not think that they're in there. We didn't think that we were in an ego when we were in an ego. We thought whatever the heck we thought. We had a lot of twisted beliefs. We thought that we were enlightened. We thought because we knew all of this spiritual stuff. And we see so many beings there. Still, it's a big trap that many beings can get into. And then they know, because they have trained how it's supposed to be. But they're not keeping up with their own ascension. That's a loop you can get stuck in. There are many loops. There are many sort of new loops that are getting created because the ego is infinitely creative, just like you, just like God, just like creation itself. So that's why it's a tricky thing to conquer, the ego. That's why it's tricky, because it's infinitely creative. When you ascend in frequency, so does the ego. It adapts to the new. And so it's very important to stay vigilant, because the ego is always there to, if you let it, unless you've trained enough and you know the tricks and you have the connection with your body and you have paired the thoughts and the feelings and you know that they're different, not just intellectually, but you're actually acting that way. That is the secret to enlightenment, at least to the start of what enlightenment is. It's not comprehending knowledge. Knowledge, it can be helpful, it can be useful, but it's more about an alignment that knowledge will do, the right knowledge. The knowledge that when you entertain certain belief structures, your body-mind unlocks. It's not just anything. It's truth. Energetic truth of the body. Each body has energetic truth. And they are very similar. They are very instinctual. It is just sort of shoved under a certain animalistic nature, primal, and it's almost associated just with sexual desires. But it's much more. But of course, sexual desires is part of that. It's part of the body. The body's desire. When you truly meet someone else, that there is a match between the bodies. And knowing what that is and not intellectualizing it and make it into some other story of what it's supposed to be or not supposed to be, according to certain rules that's been set by people that have walked before. There are some flies here. These are not just any other flies. Let's see what else wants to be shared here. Yeah. When you receive certain information, you can call it codes, you can call it that. It's just truth. When you align with your body, which is your best friend. Some beings have been through experiences that have not been pleasant. This being as well. Many abusive situations we have been through. Most beings underestimate what this being has been through. They don't know. And we don't talk about these things so much because they're not that important. except that they were the fuel that instigated this connection with higher intelligence. We are channeling much different than most people. It's very much fluent with us. It goes in and out. Channeling doesn't have to be on and off like you are being possessed. It doesn't have to be like that. You can train. Once you have trained enough and clarified your field enough, you automatically open up for what this world can actually offer you in frequency. A lot of beings have sort of been in sort of like a mental prison out of their own choice, but also that's what they grew up in. That was the contract. That's why so many of you have grown up in twisted environments, twisted family units where there's been dominance and control, abuse, who knows? A lot of things people have, who knows, meaning because everyone has a different experience, but they are very similar in the fact that whatever you're going through is the fuel for where you bounce from. You're not meant to stay there and roam around in the mud, so to speak. You're meant to use it as fuel, to fuel you forward. And it's not a pressure thing. It's not like you have to achieve something. No, that's a twisted perception. It's more sinking in and allowing for the natural thing of the body to occur. Just the same as when you get a cut. We've gotten some bite here, some insect bites. And just the same as this heals. But it doesn't happen like that. It takes time for it to heal. But if I start to pour, I don't know, sandpaper, salt, and start to rub, and alcohol, and I can irritate this, and I interrupt the healing that will naturally occur if I hadn't done that. Then maybe it takes a month instead of just a week, for example. As an example. Just the same, the mental aspect and what you believe has the same effect on your healing and your body's healing. When you get the right perspective in your mental sphere and you are opening up to feeling and you're making sense of this connection that you have with your body, there is much more healing that can be had, but it's a sinking in. It's a relaxing inward. It's more the meditative state, but it's not just staying there. A lot of beings got confused with that meditation and just thinking that it's just about reaching nirvana, no thought, and that's what enlightenment is. No. Enlightenment is done, that's just the start. And then you get the inspiration, what to do next. You have to listen to the inspiration. You have to know the difference between just thoughts and random gibberish because you've watched television and listened to other people and listened to all this stuff around, sort of like being bombarded with things instead of getting into spaces like this. That's a bit better. Where when you're in spaces like this, it's like you are letting yourself heal. You're letting the body naturally dispose of energies just because of the nature of this place. The nature of nature and how it works. There's a lot of technology that you can use, frequency machines, and there are a lot of things that we also know how to use, but there's nothing like just nature frequency and correcting your perspective. That needs to happen regardless of what you are seeking on the outside to do. Once you realize and you unlock that, yeah, you are not your body, but you can still feel what your body is going through. You can still feel what the body needs. You can still tend to the body as if it is your greatest lover. What if your body is your greatest lover? What if you learn to treat your own body like that? What will be the ripple effects of that? That is we can just feel the resonance of that and the openness of what that did for the body. You see? Because the body opens. And when the body opens, there's more energy. And when there's more energy, there's more vitality. And when there's more vitality, there's more healing. There's more upgrades. Everything is more. You are here to learn the energetic truth. We call this the holistic perspective. This is the practical knowledge of how it is to ascend, the cycles of Gaia, the frequencies of ascension. This is all what we are guiding each and every one of you who are brave enough to go into the Ascension program. Because it is the training of truly enlightening the body. That is what it is, to enlighten the body. There is a lot of micro adjustments needed, and that needs to correlate with your actions. And once you are correlating these things with your actions, you are passing Gaia's tests, so to speak. You all have free will what you want to do here, but there are consequences in frequency. So certain choices have consequences, severe consequences in frequency. All we wanted to say was consciousness, but it wasn't what we actually wanted to say. But that's what wanted to come out. That's better. So, there are so many frequency adjustments that has happened lately with this body because of all of the changes. Because we are following them. We are following the channeling, and so they are guiding us. And now we are feeling so much more in our system. And as before, in these Hey Alive sessions that we have every week, we had to breathe much more and sort of effort. There's something that has been unlocked in this system right now, that we need much less of that. And that is the ascension. If you experience something like that, it doesn't have to be exactly this, but you can get your version of this. And this is, boy, it is a little bit of getting used to more energy, because sometimes these scales, they sort of unlock bigger things, bigger sensations, feeling more. But that also goes hand in hand with having more awareness of your mental faculty and how you're operating your thinking. It comes as an effect of that, but it has to be maintained. And we have a lot of practices to maintain this frequency, and in order to maintain this connection with Yeshua and the team. And this is what we're inviting you to learn as well with this Hey Alive. These are the daily practices that we do. Gaia confirmation. These are the daily practices that we do. And it's breathing, breath holds, toning, channeling, and being guided by them every single day. So if you wish to join us, there's a link somewhere on the page. I'm sure you can, if you feel the nudge, I'm sure you can find how to get in touch. So we want to say that you are a brave being. You are a brave being for being here on this path. It is not for the faint of heart. This is really, really, really not for everyone. It takes a certain individual to truly master their experience as a human being. And if you are here, then it's most likely that there is something calling you. Follow that. We'll talk to you again in the next one. Ciao. Gaia says hi.